right. Welcome back to another episode of the Thumb Strong podcast. I'm joined as always with Barry and Bethany.
Good morning.
They're on. How we doing?
Good. How are you?
Great. Today we're going to be talking about what type of strength training method is going to be the best for busy adults. So when people think about strength training, there's actually a lot of different options that you can choose. So we're going to kind of break down the pros and cons of a few of the most popular, such as powerlifting, Olympic lifting, strongman, CrossFit, bodybuilding, functional strength training, and kind of talk about what's good about each one and then what our favorite one might be or what we would choose if we could only do one. But also like what the best protocol is for most busy adults, general population. So to kick it off with the first one, I guess, powerlifting. What is good about powerlifting, or what is powerlifting?
Powerlifting. Lifting the most amount of weights is basically powerlifting.
There's three main exercises: the squat, bench, and deadlift.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So squat, bench, deadlift. This is usually what you're going to see for kind of that maximal strength. When we test like our 1 rep maxes to see our overall strength, usually it's going to be squat, bench, and deadlift. Mm-hmm. And then we're working most of our main strength, kind of full body, is based off these three movements for most of our training as far as the first strength movement goes. It's focusing on those three lifts. What are some pros and what are some cons about powerlifting?
I'd say pro is that it is good for beginners to learn these exercises first because, like you said, you build off these exercises when you do different ones. So learning how to properly have the form for all three exercises is beneficial. And then once you get the form down from that, you can build on it by adding different exercises in this program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be obviously one of the best ways to build maximal strength. Mm-hmm. So if you want to get really strong, to make everyday lifting tasks easier, this is going to be a great method. It provides like a foundation for a lot of compound exercises. So like Barry was saying, mm-hmm. You're working a lot of different muscle groups in one movement pattern. So it's going to be good for building that foundation for the other movements that you can add in later on. Yeah. Anything to add to that?
Good for getting strong AF.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Biggest limitations or risks. So obviously it's only 3 movements, right? So you are pretty limited there. Usually when you're lifting very heavy, you have a long rest period. So obviously, it's not going to be very beneficial for your cardiovascular fitness. It's going to neglect a little bit of more of your functional stuff, as in your single leg, single arm movement patterns for like balance and stuff like that. It might be a little bit more limited to that. But.
Yeah, which typically like a powerlifting program is going to include some accessories.
Right, yeah.
Which kind of helps to shore up those things. But yeah, that's like the biggest limitation is just like, or risk is like you are going to be pushing, if you're training true powerlifting and you're going to be going for 1 rep maxes, like there is inherent risk every time you step under the bar, pick up the bar.
Yep.
So.
Yep. The biggest thing is you don't want to progress too quickly with this. You really want to nail down the technique and the form first, and even the tempo. So being able to control that bar all the way to the bottom and all the way up in a squat, maintaining a nice flat back with your deadlifts without sacrificing your spine or anything like that. Bench press, we see it quite a bit, especially with like younger kids. Too much weight and they have to bounce it really hard off their chest to get it all the way up there. Yes, you can do more weight, but it's definitely going to increase your risk for injury. And you're not actually getting as much benefit from the lift when you go rapid, like super fast like that. The more time and attention, if you can control that bar, actually it's more beneficial. So what would you say the most valuable thing the average adult can borrow from powerlifting?
It's good to be strong.
Yeah.
It's great to be strong, yes.
Building the strength.
Building the overall strength, yeah, 100%. Next one, bodybuilding. So this is going to focus mostly on building muscle, and I would say the biggest difference is you're isolating single muscle groups a lot more often in bodybuilding. So about typical bodybuilding training program, you're going to be, maybe coming in and hitting quads, hitting hamstrings, hitting biceps, triceps, shoulders, chest, back. So you're really isolating single muscle groups rather than kind of hitting everything like in a deadlift or a squat. It might include some deadlifts and squats, but a lot of times you're going to see like the hamstring curls, the leg extensions, the chest press machine, flies, all that kind of stuff.
It's a lot more slower controlled as well.
Yep, slower controlled, more moderate weight. Really good for building and preserving muscle. Help with body composition, things like that. It is easy to adjust, and you're doing a lot of dumbbell work and machines, so it does help with minimizing your risk for injuries and stuff as long as you're doing everything correctly. Again, probably not super great for like the cardiovascular benefit, but we're only talking about strength training today anyways. So
Yeah.
What do you guys think the biggest benefits would be for and limitations for bodybuilding?
I mean, obviously just like the muscle building aspect for the bodybuilding thing, and people can focus on very specific things if they want to. Like, it's all kind of customizable to, and there's different ways people do it too. I mean, like there are people, like a lot of bodybuilders do squats, they do lunges, they do compound movements and everything. But obviously it's just a little bit different than like a powerlifter doing a squat versus a bodybuilder doing a squat. It's going to be very different just because you have different intentions with it, right? So, I mean, just overall building muscle and like you do build good strength even with bodybuilding. You're not chasing ultimate strength like powerlifting, but like still decent strength building too.
Yeah. So far, like powerlifting, if you want to build that maximal strength, bodybuilding, building the actual muscle, and that also includes like when we talk about toning. So for the ladies out there, like when you think of bodybuilding, we don't want you to think like getting huge, jacked like what you'll see in a magazine or on a YouTube video or something.
They should just call it body sculpting.
Body sculpting.
And then women would be like, I'm all for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of bodybuilding, they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get too big. And it's like, you want it to be fine.
Yeah. So building the muscles, like the actual size, is what will make you look more toned. And that's what you're doing with the bodybuilding method. So, why is building muscle especially important for busy adults as they get older, you guys?
Got to maintain their independence.
Yeah.
Having enough muscle, enough strength for posture, for everyday tasks. It's just you're kind of fighting an uphill battle as you age, and so the more you can maintain your strength and your muscle, it helps prevent any sort of falls, injuries, or lets you bounce back from that faster too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That, and also just living a better life in general, having the strength to and health to play with your kids, play with your grandkids if that ever happens, things like that.
The other thing is, so your muscle is like your engine, so it's burning calories, so it's going to keep your metabolism higher. The more muscle you have, the more calories you burn. Easier it is to keep body fat off as you age. Plus, realistically, if you didn't do any kind of strength training or bodybuilding or anything, after age 30, you're going to slowly lose a small percentage of your muscle. So it's kind of like an investment to maintain that muscle mass for, like these two said, the independence, being able to do the things you want to do later in life. So very, very important to maintain that, especially as you get older. Mm-hmm. Olympic lifting, what's the benefits? What is Olympic lifting, first of all? And then we'll talk about the main benefits.
Mm-hmm. One thing I want to say is that a lot of people confuse weightlifting and powerlifting.
Yes.
Or they say like weightlifting for everything. And so the thing for Olympic weightlifting is it's only the snatch and the clean and jerk.
Yep.
So like clean and jerk is one movement, not separate.
Yes.
So this is what they do at the Olympics. So it's like a legitimate sport of like, this is the two things that they get tested on.
Mm-hmm.
there's other parts of Olympic weightlifting training where they do squats and your presses
Yes.
and everything. You know, they do everything like that. But those are the main things that it's focusing on, and it's very technique heavy. But it does help to develop coordination
Mm-hmm.
and power, coordination, timing are like the biggest things with it.
Yep. Builds athleticism, trains the body to produce force very quickly, so that explosive power, like Bethany was saying, and the coordination and stuff, and even like body awareness, because you have to be able to like catch a bar in space really, really fast, right? And especially with the snatch, like, you know, in a matter of a couple seconds, you're going from the ground, and then all of a sudden you're catching a bar over top of your head in a squatted position. It's a very satisfying movements. When we were doing them a lot, like when you get good at it, it's very satisfying and very fun to do. It is just very technique heavy. Definitely going to have a little higher risk for injury if you don't nail down the form and state. Work with lighter weights to develop it first. But they are very, very good to incorporate. We mostly incorporate power cleans, which is a form of Olympic weightlifting. Just the clean part without the jerk, just because it helps with that power and explosiveness. So compared to like a squat or a deadlift, which is very slow overall strength, this is a very, very fast twitch power type of strength.
Yeah.
Kind of the opposite of deadlift or squat. Well, hello.
Special guest, Stormy.
Special guest.
Yes.
Come here.
I say that one of the kind of limitation is flexibility and mobility. If you don't have that flexibility, it's going to be harder to hit your cleans, hit your snatches, and also hit depth too.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing with Olympic lifting that I noticed was like you really find out how mobile you are and flexible. And that's one good thing about it is it forces you to really build your mobility and flexibility to be able to get into those positions like a squat clean or a overhead squat or a snatch.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah. So let's see. Biggest thing for Olympic lifting. It doesn't really have a good question for us. Oh, we're gonna go into strongman first.
Yeah.
So to go into the next one, strongman. So this is also a sport. Powerlifting is also a sport. Strongman is a sport. So we're kind of talking about like the sports of strength training.
Yeah.
So strongman is like farmers carries, sandbag carries. We got like sled pushes and pulls, yoke carries. A lot of times there's like stones and stuff like that. Anything like object loading or lifting.
Yeah.
Kind of odd objects. Yeah. So biggest benefit here, it's going to build practical strength. So it's very functional to real life because if you think about it, like they're actually lifting up things that are kind of mimicking real life tasks. And that's probably how it was developed is way back when they were probably lifting actual boulders and stuff like that and carrying them around. And then it progressed to stones that they molded and then sandbags and stuff.
Yeah.
Really develops like your grip strength, your trunk, so your core strength, which are two very important things for longevity. Grip strength, being one of the best tests that we can do for overall strength, which is cool. Improves your work capacity. It trains like the lifting and carrying of everyday tasks, embracing your core. So it is very, very practical and very, very good method. What are some of the limitations to strongman?
The equipment.
Yeah.
Some of the equipment is hard to.
Because you got to have like sandbags and it maybe potentially a sled or a yoke or something like that. Yeah. Not a lot of places would have it. Not a lot of traditional gyms would have it. We do, of course. We're not traditional.
Yeah. And then like for the actual like sport of the strongman, extremely heavy loads, very like specific tests. That might not be like if you're training for that, it's like it might not be super applicable to get really good at like one that's like what was it, like a keg toss or something. It's like it's like it's good to have that explosiveness, but there's like things that are like you don't really, or like a car lift. It's like you may have to lift the car.
You could, yeah.
You could, but generally like little things like that, it's a little extreme for what the average person needs, but it's cool.
Yeah. The other thing is like some of those lifts are very difficult, and I would say there's a little higher risk of injury for some of them. For example, like with the sandbags and the stones and stuff,
Make
like
sure you don't use your back.
yeah, like using your back is very hard not to do, And I remember training with the sandbag, doing like sandbag cleans and stuff, and for like CrossFit competitions, we had to use like 150 pounds, and it was tough. Like you're, under fatigue and tired and stuff, and you end up sacrificing a little bit of form. So as long as you're doing it correctly, you're good. But it is tough. It can be harder to do. The proper way. So which power or strongman style exercise would each of us include most often for general clients? I know what I think I would have.
Most often for general clients. So power or strongman, or one of each?
Let's do one of each.
For Olympic lifting, I'd do power cleans or squat cleans. That'd be my biggest one. For strongman, I'd do probably offset carries and offset loads. Working your grip strength, your balance, your core.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say power clean or just like a farmer's carry.
Yeah. I would agree. I would say power clean and like a farmer suitcase carry would be really, really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or even like sandbag cleans would be good because it's very functional.
Yeah.
But you already have the power cleans.
Right, exactly. If you had to choose one for both of them,
one would be kind of a good mixture. Yeah,
that would be a good mixture.
Yep.
Just get grip and all that. But
all right, we've got CrossFit. I guess you kind of say functional strength training in there too. Functional training. So CrossFit is kind of a combination of everything we've talked about so far. Plus, you're adding in the cardio. So you're adding in like the running, the biking,
and
calisthenics, the body weight stuff. Gymnastics is something that we didn't incorporate. So you're really combining a little bit of everything. So the benefit is obviously you're getting the benefits from all of these. The one downfall and what we kind of ran into was it does take a long time to train every single one of these areas. It's a big time commitment. You have to get really good at a lot of different methods. Otherwise, you're going to have weaknesses or risk of injury, right? Because if you're, doing a CrossFit program and you're really weak in one or two things, you either have to really dial it back and spend a lot of time with it, or you're going to do it not to where it's supposed to be done and risk an injury. And I think a lot of people run into that because if they're in a class or something, it's not like you can just eliminate it all the time, or maybe there's not a good variation to do. So people end up doing it with not so good form and technique, and you could get that risk of injury. So I really love it. Really had a lot of, like we talked about it, we had a lot of fun with it for sure.
Yeah.
It develops all the kind of, you're developing the strength, the power. You're also getting like your cardio and conditioning, your mobility and functionality. Very highly efficient if you can get the right program. It has that variety. So a lot of very good benefits. The limitations I would say is just like you have to learn so many different things and get good with so many different skills and techniques that the risk for injury is a lot higher. But what do you guys think?
I'd say one for me is also you're doing it for so long. It takes such a long time to complete one training session. For me, I went through almost like a burnout with CrossFit. Like you did it so much, and there was so much you had to do, and then I didn't get to like enjoy it as much as what I wanted to. I like functional fitness. I like whole body movements and things like that. And so now my training kind of combines a lot of stuff like that. But I'd say burnout is probably one of the biggest ones for CrossFit, especially when you're going hard at it a lot. Your body's always tired.
Yeah, if you're somebody that wants to train 4, 5, 6 days a week, like we were doing 6 days a week, and we were doing probably 2-hour sessions every time. Yeah, we definitely led to a little bit of burnout. But if you're doing it, as part of a class or something, if you're just doing 2 or 3 days a week, I think you would be fine.
Yeah.
You're not going to get burnt out from that as long as you're having adequate recovery. But we were doing it more for the competition aspect of it. You
Yeah.
know, we were really trying to compete. We did some team competitions and stuff. So yeah, that's where it was tough. It was, you got to match the recovery with the training, and sometimes that's just not possible.
Yeah, it's really hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does CrossFit do exceptionally well, and where could it go wrong though? I guess we kind of already touched on it, but
As a sport or as a methodology?
how about a methodology?
Okay. I mean, CrossFit does exceptionally well of like hitting all the different things, all the different modalities, of course. But where it can go wrong is like sometimes people can focus too much on things that they're really good at and then like neglect other things. Or sometimes people will be too scattered that they're not progressing. I think that's one thing that some people will fall under is that they're like focus on all the things, but then like they're just kind of spinning their wheels because they like do one thing and then they don't see it for another month. And so it's like, it's hard to really progress on something if you're not consistently doing it. Like muscle ups, right? Like if you already have muscle ups, yeah, you can hit it once a month and keep, sharpen the iron and everything like that. But then if you don't have muscle ups, you need to do it like multiple times a week to actually get it.
Yeah.
I would say that it finds your weaknesses pretty well.
Yeah. That is a good point.
Yeah.
You know what to work on if you want to work on your weaknesses.
Yes.
The downfall to that though is like, I remember like, for example, muscle ups and double unders and handstand walks is like, you got to spend hours a week practicing it to get sufficient in it. So it definitely takes time.
Being ready to fail at those
Big
a lot.
time commitment. Yeah.
I have videos of myself doing handstand walks, like falling forward, and it's funny to look back at.
The other thing though with CrossFit that I will say is it not only points out your weaknesses and it incorporates everything, but like it really shows you what you are capable of.
Yeah.
Because I remember coming from like I would say power building is what my method of choice was when I was starting out as a trainer. I did like heavy squat, bench, deadlift with bodybuilding. So it was like a power building combination. And then I got into CrossFit and like, I had terrible conditioning. There's no way I could do a handstand walk or a muscle up or a snatch or anything. And then I got really proficient and good at those, and I surprised myself. So it really does kind of show you what you are capable of doing with your body, which is very cool. I think everybody should experience that to an extent at some point, right?
Also, I will say if you are someone who is in high school and you want to be a better athlete, this will make you a whole lot better athlete. If you want to be a better athlete than people at your school or wherever you compete against, CrossFit is definitely the way to go.
Yeah. And functional fitness training would also be the way to go. And basically what I want to do is I want to cover like the difference between what I would consider a CrossFit program and a functional fitness program. So your functional strength training, movement patterns would be like your squat, your hinge. So think like a deadlift, a push, a pull. So think like a push up or a pull up or a bench press or a lat pull down. You got like your lunges, your carries, rotational and anti-rotational power conditioning. So the biggest benefit is it's essentially like a CrossFit program, but not nearly as much gymnastics or not as heavy with the Olympic lifting.
Yeah.
So you're taking like the power, kind of like the strongman, the powerlifting, the
taking like the high
bodybuilding, taking the high skill movements out, but keeping the conditioning and cardio, keeping the strength and the power in the like the strongman, like the carries and stuff. So we really like this. This is kind of what we do now. I would say is. It's basically a CrossFit program minus all the gymnastics and the Olympic lifting. We still do power cleans every week. We do power snatches time to time. And we will throw in like a clean and jerk and stuff like that, but it's not as heavily programmed as it would be in a regular CrossFit program.
Right.
So, the CrossFit offers that intensity, the variety, the conditioning, the functional strength training, organizes those qualities for the needs of the individual. So you're basically taking the best of the best of what you need for the individual and customizing it for them to an extent. So, anything else you guys want to add to that?
Nope.
What makes an exercise functional for a specific person?
Does it translate to everyday life?
Yeah.
There we go. Perfect. All right. The best hybrid approach, 3 days a week. We have an example here. Do you guys have what your ideal 3-day approach would be or look like? What would it incorporate?
Like for me?
If you were to suggest something for the general population,
Okay.
busy adult, 3 days a week, less than an hour.
I would start with a strength movement. If that's squat, bench, or deadlift, or maybe you do
So you got some powerlifting.
And then I would add an accessory of bodybuilding. And then I would do some sort of short-term cardio after that, and then stretching. That would be around an hour.
So you've got a little bit of powerlifting, bodybuilding.
So I guess it's more towards the functional fitness.
Yep.
Just depends on what their goal is.
Yeah.
Like, that's the hard thing. Is like a general person wants to build muscle, lose weight, get a little stronger, maybe
Improve their health.
all the things. So like, do you really need bodybuilding to do that? I don't think so. I think that you can get enough like muscle strengthening through lifting heavy enough. So like the powerlifting, as far as like health and longevity, you need that Olympic like explosiveness. So like kettlebell swings or something, which you can do like that functional, like do like a functional kettlebell swing where it's like a rotational or something.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you gotta do like the carries, sled pushes, pulls, which you can incorporate like that into intervals. So like you can kind of like marry the strongman and CrossFit into one. Do like strongman imams or like strongman, and like you could put like the cardio machines with that. So you can do like the strongman, the cardio as one, and then for like functional strength training, just doing like specific things, something specifically for your weakness. So like if you have a really bad back, then it's like doing something specifically like a functional movement that helps to strengthen that, and then like stretching afterwards.
Yep. For me, it would be compound movement. So you're powerlifting. Like we pretty much every week we squat, bench, or deadlift. Sometimes all three. Sometimes we're mixing and matching. We'll throw in like a strict press, which is also a strength training compound movement. I agree with you. Like, so we do what I like about the CrossFit and what we'll always keep is like a Metcon, because I think it's a very time efficient way to help with your cardio, but you're not just like running or walking.
Right.
You know, you're incorporating more of those functional movements like from CrossFit or strongman. You know, we do a lot of kettlebell swings. We do a lot of step ups, like box jumps. We do a lot of like the row, the bike, the ski for our actual cardio. But we're also incorporating more of those functional movements with that. And we're getting it done in 10 to 15 minutes. And then the accessory stuff, I think that's good for isolating certain muscle groups, using like the single arm, single leg. So we'll usually incorporate dumbbell or kettlebell accessory that is either targeting the legs or the upper body. So how we program for fit camp is kind of like probably my best recommendation. That's why I do it that way. And then, we do a little bit of core at the end as well, isolating the actual abs and core and stuff like that. But so a little bit of everything kind of blended together. That keeping it functional is definitely the way to go. So for example, day one, we might do like a squat, push, and a carry. So that'd be like quad, chest, shoulder, and then, some core and carries and stuff like that. Hinge, pull, single leg strength. So maybe you're doing some hamstrings like deadlifts, pull-ups, or lat pull-downs for your back, biceps. and then a single leg strength to kind of work on that balance and coordination. And then you got like a full body work capacity day for day 3. That's kind of how we program too. We do like a lower body push, upper body pull, lower body pull, upper body push, right? So, and then we do a full body that kind of blends everything together, works on the cardio. So, yeah. Best method for maximal strength, powerlifting. Best method for building muscle, bodybuilding. Best method for explosive power. You got your Olympic weightlifting. Best method for carrying, practical strength. You get strongman. Best method for conditioning, variety. You get CrossFit or your functional fitness, high intensity. And the best overall fit for the average adult is, like we said, blending a little bit of everything together with movements that are doable and very easy to learn and you can do the correct way. So, yeah. If you were to choose one, last question, what would it be if you could only do one method?
Strongman.
CrossFit.
I think I would too. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this was helpful. I'm going to include the sample workout in the description in case you guys want to try it out. And we'll see you in the next one.